Steve just sold his Bronson, but don't worry, we didn't waste time getting him set up with the new bike, and today we're going to be putting it together.
I was bikeless for 24 hours and I couldn't stand it. We had some meetups and some rides coming up, so I had to buy a bike.
See if you can guess what it is yet.
Is it a Santa Cruz, or are we tricking them with that
Got
box?
a dropper.
Does have a dropper. That's important.
It has a fork. Thank heavens.
Forks are important. The question is, what tire size is it? Which model is it? Some of you might know what model it is by the color of that fork. It has wheels.
That's good. 2 of them.
Oh! What is that, hon?
That is a Santa Cruz Chameleon.
It's an aluminum hardtail. Yep. It's such a cool bike. And we bought it so fast, the shop didn't have time to put it together, so I said, no problem, we'll put it together. So today I'm teaching Tess how to build a bike.
Yeah, this is a first for me, so it was kind of cool.
But yeah, this is a great bike. This is the R Plus build. It has plus tires. They're 27.5 by 3.0. And it's going to be perfect for bike packing. It's going to be perfect for dirt jumps. It's going to be perfect for skate parks, goofing around, and just playing around. So the reason I got a Chameleon is I don't know what full suspension bike I want yet. But I knew the Chameleon's what I wanted for bike packing because I could also dirt jump on it. I love simple plus hardtails, and I want to show you guys you don't need a $5,000 bike to have fun. We're going to see how long I can ride this before I'm like, that's it, I need a full suspension now.
It's gonna be tricky because right now our van is not set up to hold more than 2 bikes. So Steve is kind of committed to riding this until we can make time to rearrange the way that we have our van set up, do a little bit of remodeling. So it's going to be an interesting adventure over the next couple of months.
Even though I'm super excited to build this bike up, the first thing I want to do is cover it up and protect it. So here we are using helicopter tape. You can buy official frame protectors that fit your frame exactly, but they're pretty expensive, and this is just a hardtail I'm going to be bike packing on, so we just use tape. Put a link to that in the description below. It's a lot cheaper, and it's not that bad. You just cut it to the size you need and put it all over the place. So I wanted to do that before it had any scratches or dings or dirt or anything, because it's really hard to put on after you've gotten your bike dirty and scratched up. But it's nice. I think they call it helicopter tape because it's the tape they put on the blades of helicopters to prevent them from getting worn down when they land in sand and stuff like that. My part's not pretty, but it's protected. There's still some bubbles in there. I could always redo that one day if I wanted. But Tess is the right person to get this done. She used to study pattern making and sewing, and she's really good at stuff like this. It was a major pain setting these tires up tubeless. I don't know if it's just a WTB thing or if it's because it's on a 40 mil wide rim or they're 3.0 tires, but it was tough to get them to seat. Woohoo! Wow. Once I got the tires seated, they actually sealed up really nicely and did not leak any air. These are so much bigger than my 2.8s. It's crazy. And it's a 40 millimeter internal rim. This will be great for bike packing. Dirt jumping, that will be interesting. Some brands of bikes come more set up than others. Santa Cruz is one of the more Spartan when you get it together. So the bottom bracket and cranks were installed, thankfully, but I still had to install the headset and the forks and brakes and shifters and derailleur and all that stuff. Okay, round edge goes down. Then the next one up is a little expanding ring, this blue thing. See how it has that slot in it? That allows it to get wider. Go ahead and push it down more first. So it kind of seats inside that. There you go, good. Next one is a little friction reducer so that those don't all turn. Okay, and this has a seal on it, so it's going to be a little bit tight, but put it on straight. This keeps water out of all these bearings.
It was cool seeing all the knowledge that I've acquired over the last couple of years come together, and I could recognize bits and pieces, and Steve would kind of give me a chance to see if I could figure out how things fit together. Now we tighten the headset?
Yeah, what does that do?
Squishes all this together.
Very good. When you get to build your bike piece by piece like this, and you're on the trail and something breaks or something's out of adjustment, the fear factor is totally gone because you've been there, you've done it, and you learn this. Now, if you're a total newbie mechanic, I don't recommend building your bike, but I recommend taking some classes and hooking up with your local shop to get some lessons if they have any, and some shops might even let you watch them build it where they can teach you how it works. Most shop mechanics are super cool and love the craft so much, and they're happy to share their love of bikes with other people.
Here we're putting the front brake on.
The reason we're going in with like the screwdriver grip is so we don't cross thread at all. If it can go in like that, we know our threads are lined up. Okay, now before that's in too much, do the bottom one. This bike comes with 180 millimeter rotors, which is cool. I may consider swapping the front out for a 200 millimeter. I do that on a lot of my bikes, but we'll see if this needs it or not first. One bummer about these new SRAM Level T brakes is this angle that the hose comes in at. Would have made a lot more sense to run it at a different angle so it could line up with the hose here. Instead, we've got this kind of a sharper bend here on this loop, which probably won't be a problem, but when you're bike packing and pushing it through brush and stuff, the further away this is, the more likely it is to get snagged. It's kind of a dumb design there when they easily could have changed the direction of that to aim this a little bit better. Oh well. Alright, front brake is on. We just have to torque these. We'll look up the torque values and torque those down. All Santa Cruz bikes run their hydraulic brakes on the outside of the frame, which is really nice. It means you can buy an already pre-bled brake like this and just connect it like we are without having to disconnect anything, run hoses through the frame, and then reconnect them. Most companies are not routing hydraulic cables internally, but some do. I think this bike also has an external shifter cable, but an internal seat dropper post. Kind of interesting. This is a really cool bike. You guys know how I talk about chain stay lengths being super important for small riders, especially if you're learning tricks into manual and wheelie and all that. Well, this bike has an adjustable chain stay, so these little parts loosen and they can go in and out about an inch. That also allows you to fit 29er wheels on here and possibly big 29ers like 29 by 2.6, and we've heard of people running as big as 29 by 3.0. And you can also swap these dropouts out and run a single speed that's non-boost. So if you have boost wheels, you can run these ones, and then for 75 bucks you can buy a non-boost one for the single speed. Anyway, lots of cool things you can do with this. It's a very, very, very versatile bike. I'm going to start with it as short as possible because that's what I love and that's why I bought this bike. This is one of the shortest chain stays on any plus bike on the market.
Now that we had the brakes installed, we could get the wheels on.
This is a pretty exciting moment when it starts to look like a bike, but there's still a lot left to do on this. So this is awful. Look at the angle this has to be at to be run right there.
Yeah, that's not great.
It is awful. You can already see it like kinking. You can already see it damaging the hose there. What were you thinking, SRAM, when you designed that brake like that? This would be better if it were moved up a little bit more too, Santa
That would help.
Cruz.
It wouldn't be as sharp.
They probably designed it with another brake in mind and then thought, oh, this is what SRAM wants us to run, so we'll run that. But man, that is awful. Especially on a bike packing bike that we want to be reliable. Next up, derailleur. SRAM NX derailleur. It's not crappy, but GX would sure be nice at this price point. But it does have my favorite feature that only SRAMs have, this little pin that holds the derailleur open. And it's a short cage derailleur, which is cool. And I'm glad this is 11 speed and not 12 speed. Alright, beautiful. I like to run a little bit of grease on my cables. It keeps them shifting well, reduces the friction in there. Not a lot, just a little. Kind of is similar to running a Teflon inner cable. SRAM, you make a much better derailleur than Shimano does. Get this derailleur adjusted. The only other thing we have left to assemble is to run the cable for the dropper post. Then the rest is just adjusting and fine-tuning everything. Okay, I'm ready to ride this thing. Hurry up, bike. Immediately I could notice the short rear end on this bike, and if you're a short rider, that makes such a difference for manuals and wheelies and bunny hops and tight turns. It is such a playful bike. Now, those of you that know me well know I'm not trying to set the fastest time down the mountain. Instead, I'm trying to have as much fun as possible and just play around and turn the whole mountain into a skate park for me. And this bike, immediately I can feel it's going to be great for that. The question is, can I handle riding a hardtail as my only bike for who knows how many months until we redo the van and I can make room for a big full suspension? It's going to be a fun experiment, but I hope it proves that you don't need a super expensive bike to have fun, and I really do think plus-size hardtails are fantastic options for a first, second, or third bike for people who are new to the sport and aren't ready to commit to a $5,000 bike. I'd rather have a bike with good geometry and a dropper and a nice fork than a crappy full suspension that has poor geometry or even is carbon but doesn't ride very well. And immediately I can tell this is going to be a fun bike. We'll see how it plays out over the next few rides.